With the company that we picked, some issues happened, which resulted in us not being able to take everything. And this did mean that on the day of, I couldn't bring my entire Wizard of Oz collection. Hello fellow Ozians, I'm the Louisiana Quadling, a Wizard of Oz collector and enthusiast. And recently, I moved! And during this process, I got some interesting advice. Some of it was good, and some of it not so much. I thought it might be a little beneficial for y'all if I gave you at least my experience, and hopefully this will help you out if you ever have to move your Wizard of Oz collection in the future. So, let's get started. First things first, moving is expensive. Let's just get that out of the way. So it would do you some good if you are planning on moving to definitely save up a little bit of money so that it won't be quite so shocking and going over budget when you decide to move. Now, with everyone's collection, we all display it somewhere. So the first real question that I have for you is the furniture that you have that you're currently using to display your collection, is it actually solid furniture? The only reason why I'm asking this question is because when my sister moved, literally across the United States, she had some furniture that was made out of particle board, and it didn't make it to where she was going. It actually completely fell apart. Yikes. Now, among all of the furniture that I have that I use to display my collection, I only had one little chunk come off of a Barrister bookcase corner. And that was it. Everything else is still holding up. No glass broken. We're all good here. Now, maybe the particle board thing isn't quite as much of an issue for you because you only have one small little cabinet, or bookcase, that you use to display your Wizard of Oz collection. And in that case, maybe it doesn't matter if that particular piece doesn't make it because you can easily replace it with another one once you get to your destination. Now, this could just be to your discretion as far as what you think will actually survive a move, because this does depend on how big or small your collection is. Obviously, with mine being the monster that it is, it was a little important that the furniture at least definitely made it here to Florida. Now, I did get all of my furniture secondhand, so none of this was super duper duper expensive. And you can definitely get really quality furniture for affordable prices. You just have to keep your eye out and always be looking. Now that we've got the furniture covered, you've got to pack up your collection and get it ready for transit. I had one friend of mine who said that they never bought packing supplies whenever they move. Now, if this is true, there ain't no way that they have a collection. There ain't. For me, this wasn't quite as bad as what you might think, since most of my collection isn't out on display. It's stored either in their original boxes or in totes. So the packing process wasn't that bad. I mean, it was still bad. But for other people who maybe didn't keep their original boxes, have never had anything stored away, this is definitely going to be a very, very long process for you. And the other thing that's a little bit awful in your case if you didn't keep the original boxes, especially for the more breakable items like really large porcelain dolls or music boxes, is that they're most likely going to actually take up more space being completely encased in bubble wrap than if you had the original styrofoam. So let's say that you get boxes donated to you. That's excellent. we weren't that lucky, but we were also interested in getting boxes that were of a similar size as far as when we were packing up and moving. So the big question, as far as your collection is concerned, is whether you should get small boxes or larger boxes. And I really think this depends on how big your collection is and what you have in it. For me, the only thing that I had stored in smaller boxes were my books. Now, for those of you that don't collect media as far as vintage and antique Wizard of Oz books, you definitely don't know how heavy old books can be, especially when you have a lot of them in a box. So if you have a collection that has a lot of vintage items, like books, they're gonna weigh a lot. So it's within your best interest to have them in a smaller box so that they're easier to pick up. You definitely don't want to have a huge herky box that is so heavy you can't even pick it up. I had one person tell me that they used all of their clothes to pack in between items inside totes and boxes. And I followed this advice near the end since we were starting to run out of paper and bubble wrap and different things. And the 2 totes that I did this in completely fell apart. I mean, like they're like completely crunched and mangulated. Now, thankfully, these were totes that did not have my Wizard of Oz collection in them. But I thought I would mention this, that those did fall apart. And I had other items in there. The items didn't break, but I wouldn't want this to happen to you. Yeah, that would not be a pretty sight. Now, let's say that maybe you're not comfortable having your collection on the moving truck and you want to take it yourself. Or maybe there's items that you're gonna cherry pick out of your collection that you don't want to have go on the truck for either temperature reasons or just the fragility of the item. I certainly had a list. It was a long list of items that were definitely not going on a moving truck. And those were definitely porcelain dolls, the very vintage composition Judy Garland dolls, and also my LP collection. I heard horror stories from a couple different people of moving companies that took over a week to deliver their items. So that means that you have the potential of having something in an unair-conditioned hot truck for possibly over a week. And that could do some major damage depending on what you have in your collection. So that's something to consider with whatever moving company you're going with. And the last thing, which probably should have been the first thing I said, is do some research on these moving companies themselves. We didn't know anything because, well, we'd never moved before. So this kind of thing was completely new to us. And with the company that we picked, some issues happened, which resulted in us not being able to take everything. And this did mean that on the day of, I couldn't bring my entire Wizard of Oz collection. Some of it had to stay behind in Louisiana. Now, that was quite a tough pill to swallow, and unfortunately not all of it came, but most of it did. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone who commented on the previous video. As of recording this, I haven't answered any of y'all, and I feel kind of bad about that, but I've still been adjusting and trying to unpack and get everything ready for this new house, and obviously have not gotten the Oz room set up yet, so hopefully that's next time. Hopefully. Anyways, have you moved your Wizard of Oz collection before? Is there anything that I missed in this video that it should have covered? Let's have a discussion down in the comments. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.